Hello, Mrs. James. Thank you so much for joining us for this interview. We can't wait to get to know you more. So we just have a few questions. Our first question, how would you describe your teaching style?
Yeah, it's a great question. So with my education, I was able to learn about different theorists and their approach to learning. And so I definitely took on the constructivist approach with theorists like Piaget. So with that in mind, I feel like my teaching style is definitely one of hands-on experiential learning, providing students opportunities to really be active learners in their education. And so this looks like providing manipulatives to kind of further concepts with the students, and providing experiences to where they can learn through problem solving and creative thinking, critical thinking skills, and things like that.
Thank you. For our next question, how will you teach children cultural diversity in the classroom?
Yes, this is very important as we live in a very culturally diverse world. And so with that, I think it's definitely important to teach students how to be respectful and inclusive within their environment and within the classroom community. And some ways that I would do that is to incorporate it in the literature or maybe artwork within the classroom or different artifacts from different cultures. I just think teaching the children about what's going on in different parts of the world is definitely one way to do that. Also, building it into the classroom community by allowing children to share their cultural experiences and share with the class different, maybe they celebrate different holidays, or maybe they have particular foods that they like from their cultural background. Just creating a safe space for children to share and feel respected in their cultural diversity.
What are your views on weekly lesson plans?
Yes, weekly lesson plans are very important as they help to drive your instruction. And I think having weekly lesson plans helps you to really organize your classroom, organize your curriculum, organize what resources or materials or activities that you'd want to plan. And it also helps you lay out your learning standards and outcomes that you're wanting to achieve with a child. This is also a great way to assess you as a teacher and your teaching strategies, and how you can better your planning or better your instruction for the children.
Nice. Speaking of assessment, how do you use assessment to drive instruction?
Yes, so as mentioned before, I think it's a great tool to help drive your instruction and drive what you're doing in the classroom. And it helps you to, some ways that I would use it is by helping me to differentiate the student's learning. I think through using observation and assessment, I'm able to see where the child is at and take them to where they need to go. So for example, if I did an assessment on reading and I saw that students are at different reading levels, I'm now able to differentiate their learning and provide them with the needs that that particular child needs, or separate small groups, or whatever the case. It helps me to cultivate the classroom in a way that best fits the children's needs.
What do you find most challenging about caring for children?
Yes, so with children, I would say what I find challenging is to best kind of, again, what I've mentioned before, kind of best serve all the different needs of the children. I think all children are very unique and they have different strengths, they have different weaknesses, and to best be intentional for each and every one of them to support exactly what they need, I think would be a challenge. And it's important as an intentional teacher to be mindful of that and tailor the instruction to the specific student's needs. Another way as well, I would say, is to keep the students motivated in their learning, especially with the cultural climate that we live in now. Students are used to YouTube or video games or whatever the case, and I feel like with learning they could easily get bored. And so one of my goals is to really keep the students active and engaged in their learning and wanting them to be willing participants in their education.
Okay, and how would you handle challenging behaviors?
Yes, I think handling challenging behaviors first goes into laying a good foundation. I think the most important thing about this is laying the groundwork and setting expectations with the children, and letting them know, creating systems in the classroom, creating rules in the classroom, and setting those expectations from the beginning to where the child knows they need to follow them. And then moving from there, if you've communicated these expectations, I also think it's important to model them, and to set the example, show the children how they're supposed to use materials, or how they're supposed to transition, or where they're supposed to be at a particular time in the day, whatever it is, to model that expectation that you have for them. And then moving forward, if they still do not participate, or they still do not meet that set expectation, I think having natural consequences, so consequences that are fair and that are natural. So for example, if a student is not using a certain material in the proper way, then the natural consequence of that is not allowing the child to use that material anymore. So having consequences that kind of teaches the child responsibility and accountability, I think, is important. And also, I would say creating opportunities for the child to reflect on their choices and their decisions, and then make better ones in the future. So a practical example of this would be to create a space in the classroom, like a calm down corner. And if I have to send a child there, having a document or resource available where the child has to record or reflect on their actions. And so just giving that child, again, that time to reflect on their decisions that they've made.
Okay. Why do you want to work at our school?
Yes, so something that specifically drew me to your institution was you all's approach to the whole child, the mind, body, and soul, and your values to creating an inclusive environment that is not just academic focused, but is also Christ-centered. I am a firm believer that we are to train a child in the way they should go, and I believe that your school offers the tools and the environment and the culture to be able to partner with your faculty and staff to do that effectively.
And lastly, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, my 3 questions for you would be, how would you describe your school climate? What are you most proud of about your school? And what resources do you provide for new teachers?